Salut tout le monde et bienvenue au Balado, le podcast Avant-Match. Mon nom est Joey Alfieri. What's up everybody? Joey Alfieri here for the Pregame podcast. The regular season is over. The playoffs have started. The Alouettes will play their first postseason game of 2024 Saturday. We're recording this Friday afternoon, which means that the game is tomorrow, and we've got a lot to get to on the show. We have a busy show. Usually we do one player interview. I thought it would be fun to speak to two guys who were a major part of the Grey Cup win last season. We will be talking to Cody Fajardo on the podcast for the first time in 2024, I believe, at least during the season. And we will also be talking to dynamic kick returner James Letcher Jr., who a year ago in this game against the Toronto Argonauts in Toronto scored a touchdown on a kickoff return, and it basically put the game to bed and punched the Alouettes ticket to the Grey Cup. So we start the podcast in French, as always, and we will have a couple of interviews for you in English. Bon, on a une émission quand même assez chargée. On va parler à plusieurs membres des Alouettes, plusieurs. On va en parler à deux membres des Alouettes. Je sais, dans le balado, d'habitude, on en parle seulement à un, mais on va parler à Cody Fajardo et James Letcher Jr. Donc ça va être en anglais un peu plus tard, mais comme d'habitude, on commence en français avec tous les notes d'avant-match. Et écoutez, c'est quand même c'est un gros défi, ce match-là, parce que oui, c'est sûr qu'on aime le fait, euh, il faut juste jouer un match éliminatoire et tu te rends à la Coupe Grey, mais ça peut être compliqué de trouver un rythme après avoir eu une semaine de congé. Donc, ce que les Alouettes ont fait, en fait, la semaine passée, c'est qu'ils ont travaillé sur le terrain. Ils ont eu 3 pratiques, comme une semaine normale, mais évidemment, il n'y avait pas de match. Mais, ce que je peux vous dire, c'est que les gars sont restés ici et Cody Fajardo en a parlé un peu lors de la conférence de presse la veille, c'était plutôt aujourd'hui, vendredi, et vous pouvez, si vous l'avez raté, vous pouvez l'écouter sur la page YouTube des Alouettes. Mais ce que Cody Fajardo a mentionné, pendant la saison, chaque équipe a 3 semaines de congé. Et quand on donne 3 semaines de congé, en fait, c'est tout le monde décroche. Comme si tu veux retourner voir ta famille en dehors de la ville, en dehors du pays, en dehors de la province, tu peux faire ça. Donc, quand on a une semaine de congé pendant la saison régulière, on décroche complètement. Donc, ça veut dire, si tu veux venir au stade pour t'entraîner dans le gymnase ou recevoir de la thérapie physique, euh, tu peux faire ça, mais c'est 100% volontaire. C'est pas quelque chose que l'équipe peut te obliger de faire. Maintenant, c'est sûr que ça affecte le rythme parce qu'on est en dehors de la normale. On est en dehors de notre horaire normal. Donc, de la manière que Cody l'a expliqué un peu plus tôt aujourd'hui, j'ai trouvé ça intéressant. Il dit, tu quittes pendant 4-5 jours, tu t'en vas voir ta famille, puis là, ça casse tes habitudes. Donc, tu reviens, puis ouais, c'est compliqué, ça peut prendre un peu de temps, puis c'est pour ça que les équipes, après une semaine de congé, c'est pas toujours facile de revenir et gagner. Mais avec ce qu'ils ont fait la semaine passée, parce qu'il y a un journaliste qui a challengé Cody, puis qui a dit, comme, c'est sûr que de ne pas jouer de match, ça casse le rythme. Peut-être ça casse le rythme un peu, mais moins que pendant une semaine de congé normal. Parce que les Alouettes ont pratiqué 3 fois la semaine dernière et j'étais là pour les 3. Et je peux vous dire que ça leur a donné un peu d'opportunité de travailler sur les détails. Quand je dis détails, des scénarios un peu bizarres. Comme par exemple, une des choses sur laquelle ils ont travaillé, c'est euh, en fin de match, soit tu gagnes, soit tu tires de l'arrière, mais il faut que tu fasses plein de passes courtes. Comment est-ce qu'on fait ça pour avancer le ballon? Tu sais, c'est quoi la stratégie s'il ne reste plus de temps au cadran puis ça prend absolument un toucher? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Tu sais, c'est des scénarios comme ça, sans rentrer en détail, mais c'est toutes des choses que quand tu as une semaine de congé, mais que tu pratiques quand même, euh, tu sais, c'est quelque chose que euh, tu sais, c'est quelque chose que tu peux travailler, parce que tu as plus de temps, c'est des choses que tu peux travailler un peu plus longtemps, tu peux aller un peu plus dans les détails. Donc, tu sais, pour les Alouettes, oui, il y a des joueurs qui ont eu un peu de repos la semaine passée. C'est pas tout le monde, je vous dirais que c'est 95% des joueurs qui ont pratiqué la semaine passée. Ceux qui traînaient des bobos ont eu un beau congé, ils n'ont pas pratiqué, il y en a quelques-uns. Euh, mais ça donne l'opportunité de travailler sur des scénarios dont on n'a peut-être pas travaillé tout au long de la saison. Mais c'est juste au cas où, parce que c'est un match sans lendemain, right? Donc, euh, ce qui arrive, c'est que il faut absolument être prêt pour tout scénario parce que oui, si tu perds pendant la saison régulière, c'est grave. Mais si tu perds samedi, c'est compliqué parce que tu rejoues, tu rejoues pas la semaine d'après. Donc, j'aime ce qu'ils ont fait. Tu sais, j'aime le boulot que les entraîneurs ont fait. Ils ont travaillé sur plein de choses. euh, et la majorité des choses sur lesquelles ils ont travaillé, il y a des bonnes chances qu'on les utiliserait même pas. Euh, mais quand même, tu sais, je trouve que ça s'est bien déroulé. Les coachs, évidemment, tu sais, l'entraîneur-chef Jason Moss et son staff, là, c'est des coachs, c'est des entraîneurs extrêmement compétents. Tu sais. Puis je pense que c'est un staff qui peut s'ajuster selon l'adversaire avant un match, pendant un match, à la mi-temps. Je trouve que le staff qui est en place est très, très compétent. On parle de plusieurs personnes, mais le staff en tant que tel, je trouve que c'est un des très bons staffs que j'ai vus. Ça fait longtemps que je suis les Alouettes. Là. Ça va faire 24, ça fait 24 ans, là, 25 ans que je suis les Alouettes de très, très, très près. Je suis tout jeune depuis que j'avais quel âge? J'ai commencé en 2000, puis j'avais comme 9 ans. Donc, non, 10. Anyway, tu sais, c'est un bon staff. C'est un staff compétent. C'est ça le point. Donc, j'aime ce que le staff a fait pendant ces 2 semaines de pratique-là et j'apprécie beaucoup le travail. Tu sais, c'est vraiment c'est axé sur les détails, mais aussi ils ont bâti un bon plan de match, je crois, selon moi. Ça veut-tu dire que c'est victoire facile, victoire automatique? Absolument pas, parce que c'est les joueurs qui vont décider ça aussi. Mais de ce que je peux vous dire, je trouve que le plan de match est quand même très fort, très intéressant. Donc, on va regarder la charte des positions pour ce match-là. La charte des positions qui est sortie, le depth chart, comme on appelle ça en bon québécois. Euh, Elle est sortie à vendredi matin, donc un peu plus tôt ce matin. Pas une tonne de surprises. Mais en attaque, il y a deux choses quand même intéressantes. Donc, Jamar McGloster, bloqueur à droite, qui n'a pas joué le dernier match de la saison. On va prendre une décision sur son état de santé après l'échauffement, la période d'échauffement. Donc, on devrait le savoir vers 2h30. Si McGloster ne joue pas, évidemment, ça aiderait beaucoup. Mais remarque que Donnie Ventrelli a vraiment bien joué le match contre les Bombers. Mais quand tu as un bloqueur à droite qui a de l'expérience de championnat, il y a une expérience NFL, expérience championnat, tu sais, c'est s'il est en santé, il faut qu'il joue. L'autre qui est quand même intéressant, c'est Austin Mack. Vous avez peut-être vu la pièce de contenu sur les réseaux sociaux avec Austin Mack cette semaine. Il a pris nos téléphones, il a pris notre compte Instagram, il a filmé une journée dans sa vie. Ça, c'était mercredi. Jeudi, il n'a pas pratiqué. Donc, on va voir, lui aussi, on va prendre une décision après la période d'échauffement. Donc, Mac et McGloster, deux gars, premièrement, c'est des bons gars, c'est des très bons joueurs. Et c'est des gars qui ont été partants lors de la Coupe Grey l'an passé. Donc, c'est deux gars qui ont de l'expérience en match éliminatoire. Donc, c'est quand même important de le souligner, mais j'espère que les deux seront en mesure de jouer parce que, côté receveur, par exemple, on a beaucoup de profondeur. Mais là, sans Phil Potts, sans Mac, ça complique les choses un peu. Là. C'est sûr que j'ai confiance en Snead, Rambo, Julian Grant, Speaker et compagnie, mais sans Mac, sans Phil Potts, ça rend la tâche un peu plus difficile. Euh, quoi d'autre on voulait mentionner ici? Écoute, les clés de la victoire, vous pouvez lire sur le site web des Alouettes. J'ai écrit un article, un aperçu, note d'avant-match qui sort à tous les semaines. Mais dans les notes d'avant-match, j'ai souligné une couple de choses qui sont importantes. Je vous dirais, je vais vous laisser lire, là. Je ne vais pas vous dire tout ce qui est dans les notes d'avant-match, mais une chose qui est hyper, hyper, hyper importante, c'est le fait, je pense que les Argonauts vont venir ici et écoute, ils ont battu les Alouettes deux fois. C'est un de deux équipes qui a battu les Alouettes deux fois cette année avec les Lions de la Colombie-Britannique. Euh, les Argos ont bien couru de ballon contre les Alouettes. Je pense que ils ont un match de 179 verges au sol. Je pense que ça, c'était à Montréal. Et ils ont eu plus de 200 verges, beaucoup plus que 200 verges la dernière fois que ces deux équipes-là se sont affrontées. Là, je veux pas, avant que je continue mon point, je veux pas faire d'excuses pour les défaites, mais je veux juste mettre en perspective, parce qu'il y a du monde qui pense que les Argos sont la bête noire des Alouettes, et oui, ils ont gagné deux des trois matchs cette année, mais je veux juste vous rappeler de quelque chose. Euh, les Alouettes, la première fois qu'ils ont joué les Argos cette année au BMO Field, ils ont battu les Argos. C'était le quatrième match de la saison, si je ne me trompe pas. Si vous en souvenez, on avait la faux filet du corps. Ils ont fait une feinte de faux filet du corps et Caleb Evans a lancé une passe dans les zones profondes pour Cole Speaker. Speaker a capté le ballon, marqué un touché. Donc, il y a Speaker qui avait marqué dans ce match-là. Mais les Alouettes ont très bien joué sur la route. Ils ont bien joué. Tout s'est bien passé. Les Alouettes ont gagné le match. Euh, le deuxième match qui a eu lieu à Montréal au mois de juillet, n'oubliez pas, on en a parlé souvent du calendrier de la Ligue, puis quand c'est compliqué, quand il y a 9 équipes seulement, numéro impair de clubs, je devrais dire, dans la Ligue. Mais les Alouettes avaient joué le samedi contre les Stampeders à domicile. Et là, ils ont affronté les Argos jeudi. Tu sais, c'est dimanche, lundi, mardi, mercredi. C'est 2 matchs en 5 jours, là. C'est tellement compliqué de jouer 2 matchs en 5 jours quand l'autre équipe a plus de repos que toi. Donc, oui, les Argos sont venus ici, ils ont gagné le match, je leur donne crédit. Tu sais, battre les Alouettes cette année, ça a été compliqué, là. Ça n'a pas été facile pour personne, là. Mais n'oubliez pas que c'est 2 matchs en 5 jours. C'est la première défaite de la saison. Puis, vous vous en souvenez peut-être pas, mais il y avait 4 ou 5 joueurs qui se sont blessés lors du premier match contre Calgary. Et là, il a fallu faire des changements à l'alignement. C'était 2 matchs en 5 jours. Cody Fajardo s'est blessé lors du premier quart de ce match-là contre les Argos. Vous vous en souvenez, Caleb Evans a joué, ça n'a pas bien été. Donc, donnons le crédit aux Argos parce qu'eux autres, ils peuvent se revirer le bord et dire oui, mais Chad Kelly était suspendu. 100%, absolument d'accord. Mais il faut juste mettre ça en perspective. Les Argos, la première fois qu'ils ont battu les Alouettes ont joué 2 matchs en 5 jours. OK? C'est compliqué dans le football professionnel. Deuxième match, fin septembre, je pense que c'était le 28 septembre, si je ne me trompe pas. Les Alouettes ont perdu par 6 points. C'était un énorme match. Euh, des Argos. Non, c'était un énorme match pour les Argos. Chad Kelly a joué. C'était un match qui était très important, je devrais dire, pour les Argos. Et les Alouettes, quelques heures avant le début de la rencontre, ils se sont qualifiés, mais ils ont confirmé la première place dans l'Est parce que les Rough Riders jouaient contre le Rouge et Noir à 3 heures, à 15 heures ce jour-là. Les Alouettes jouaient à 19 heures. Donc, si vous en souvenez, ce jour-là, samedi le 28, si le Rouge et Noir perd ce match-là, les Alouettes, la première place serait confirmée pour les Alouettes. Donc, c'est un match que juste avant la rencontre, on a su que c'est pas une excuse. Encore une fois, c'est pas une excuse. Je rapporte juste les faits. Mais 1 heure avant le début de cette rencontre-là, contre les Argos, les Alouettes ont su, les joueurs ont su que les Rough Riders avaient gagné, puis que la première place était confirmée pour les Alouettes. Donc, tu sais, oui, on veut pas faire d'excuses, on veut pas diminuer les victoires des Argos contre les Alouettes, mais je veux juste vous mettre en tant que, si vous écoutez, j'imagine que vous êtes partisan des Alouettes, là. Mais j'aimerais juste souligner le fait que c'était ça les faits, je devrais dire. C'était ça le contexte de ces matchs-là. Donc, n'oubliez pas que, oui, les Argos ont battu les Alouettes 2 fois, 100%, c'est arrivé, ils ont gagné 2 des 3 matchs. Mais, mais, il y a un certain contexte qu'il ne faut pas oublier. Donc, c'était juste ça que je voulais souligner. Là, pour revenir à mon autre point, une des clés demain, c'est d'arrêter le jeu au sol. Moi, je pense qu'il y a des équipes, des fois, ils viennent jouer contre un adversaire. Tout le monde pense que le plan de match va être X et là, ils sortent un plan de match différent. Là, ça me surprendrait samedi après-midi si les Argos arrivent ici puis ils n'essaient pas de courir le ballon avec Kadim Carey, Daniel Adeboboye et Deontay McMahon. C'est 3 gars qui ont bien couru avec le ballon lors de le dernier match entre ces deux équipes. Moi, je pense que une des clés, c'est de freiner le jeu au sol des Argonauts et de les rendre unidimensionnels. Dans quel sens? On a vu la semaine passée, lors de la demi-finale de l'Est, entre Toronto et Ottawa, les Argonauts avaient le ballon en milieu de deuxième quart. Je pense qu'il y avait le temps de possession était comme 21-6 en faveur du Rouge et Noir, mais le pointage était 17-16 pour Toronto. Donc, comment est-ce qu'ils ont fait ça? Oui, le Rouge et Noir ont bien commencé le match et les Argos ont mal commencé en attaque, mais les Argonauts ont eu 2 séquences à l'attaque où c'était un jeu pour 70 verges, 2 jeux 70 verges. Donc, on a commencé à la ligne de 42 fois. Une fois, on a marqué sur un jeu et l'autre fois, on a marqué sur 2 jeux. Donc, c'est sûr que c'est des séquences à l'attaque rapides, mais pour éviter que Chad Kelly trouve son rythme dans le jeu aérien, il faut s'assurer de freiner le jeu au sol. Parce que là, si on fait des feintes de course et que les joueurs des Alouettes en défensive essaient d'arrêter la course, puis là, tout d'un coup, OK, Chad Kelly garde le ballon, OK, on garoche ça dans les zones profondes, tu as des meilleures chances. Il devient plus imprévisible si le jeu au sol fonctionne parce que, OK, il va-tu remettre le ballon? Est-ce qu'il va lancer le ballon? Mais si on arrête le jeu au sol tôt dans la rencontre, on a des meilleures chances de remporter ce match-là parce que la défensive va savoir que, OK, les Argos jouent au sol, ça ne fonctionne pas, on va arrêter ça, puis on va lancer des passes. Puis là, quand tu deviens prévisible, c'est là que tu fais des erreurs. C'est là que tu lances des interceptions. Donc, pour moi, c'est une des grandes clés pour ce match-là. Et j'ai hâte de voir. Je suis confiant que l'unité défensive des Alouettes sera en mesure de freiner Kadim Carey et compagnie. Et n'oublions pas, le dernier match de la saison contre Winnipeg, Brady Oliveira, c'était environ 40 verges au sol, là. On parle du MOP de la division Ouest cette année. Donc, je pense que les Alouettes, oui, j'avoue que c'était un peu plus difficile un peu plus tôt cette saison, mais je trouve que les dernières semaines, ils ont fait du bon boulot et sont capables de mieux arrêter la course. Bon. All right, so that's it. We're going to head over. That was the French part of the podcast. Just a reminder, et c'est ça que je voulais mentionner, avant de passer en anglais, on va le mentionner en anglais aussi, mais euh, si vous êtes en train de conduire au stade, et que vous écoutez le balado, juste vous mentionner qu'on va avoir un live, on va être en direct du tailgate. Je vais être là. Je vais passer des fans en entrevue. On va parler peut-être à un joueur ou deux blessés. On va parler à un ou deux membres de l'état-major des Alouettes. Mais venez nous voir dans le tailgate. On va être là à 14 heures, de 14 heures à environ 14h30. On va faire notre live, on va faire une émission spéciale. Venez me saluer. J'adore parler football avec vous autres. C'est quelque chose qu'on n'a pas fait tout au long de la saison, mais on va le faire pour la finale de l'Est. Donc, 14 heures, on a une émission d'avant-match spéciale pour cette rencontre-là. Et si vous ne venez pas au stade, si malheureusement vous n'avez pas acheté vos billets à temps parce que c'est un autre guichet fermé, on est sold out pour ce match-là encore. C'est 4 sell-outs de suite pour finir la saison. Vous pouvez écouter évidemment sur X, sur YouTube, sur Instagram, sur Facebook aussi. On va être en direct sur toutes ces plateformes-là. On va faire bien de l'analyse. All right, we'll move over to English. Évidemment, on va avoir l'après-match aussi. Si on gagne, je ne veux même pas mentionner l'autre scénario, mais c'est ça qui est ça. Okay, so in English, we will have a live pregame show beginning at 2 o'clock. If you're coming to the game, come see us in the tailgate area. We're going to be live from there. And if you're not coming to the game, of course, you can watch it on all our social media platforms. And of course, we will have the post-game live after as well. So once the game's wrapped up, we'll talk to players and coaches and all that stuff as soon as the game is over. All right. So that's the analysis. If you don't understand French, if you missed what I had mentioned, there's 2 game time decisions on offense for this game. Jamar McGloster at right tackle and Austin Mack at wide receiver, of course. 2 big pieces, 2 guys who were huge parts of the Grey Cup win last year. So hopefully they'll take the warm-up and then a decision will be made based on how they're feeling after that. And that's pretty much it. All right. So let's jump into our first interview. It's a pleasure to welcome for the first time this year. We talked to the starting quarterback of the Montreal Alouettes, Mr. Cody Fajardo, the Grey Cup MVP from 2023. So this is the big one, Cody. I mean, what are you've played playoff games before, obviously, even before coming here. What are the emotions like how different of a feel is? Like, there's got to be a different feel to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of build-up, especially when you have the first-round bye and you get to see the other 4 teams play, and you just feel the animosity, you feel the atmosphere through the TV when you're just watching. And so it's just one of those things that you're extremely thankful for the opportunity. Not everybody gets to host a playoff game, and some people go their whole career without hosting a playoff game. And so we take a lot of pride in it. I take a lot of pride in it. I get nervous before preseason games, so obviously I'll be nervous before this game, but it's not going to be any more nerves than I normally have. It's football at the end of the day. It's something I've been doing since I was 6 years old. The outcome will take care of itself. Win or lose, obviously you're going to feel worse on one or the other, but you understand what's at stake here. And like I said, that flight to BC, knowing that we're in the Grey Cup game, is going to feel a lot better than your flight back home.
One of the things that impressed me last year, like, I don't know, obviously there's not many people on the team bus, but I just remember getting on the team bus, sitting down, going to the game on the Sunday, the Grey Cup game, and it felt, I could have sworn, if I didn't know what the date was, I could have thought it was like an August day going to Tim Hortons Field. And like, everyone was so calm, even keeled, and loose. Like, do you feel that? Did you get the sense from this group again? And is that, how important is that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of carryover with our veterans, right? A lot of veterans on this team have played big games, have played in Grey Cups, whether it was here or somewhere else. So we have a good veteran presence of guys who have played in big games, and I think they're helping bring the young guys along. A lot of times you get in these big games and you try and do too much, and you've missed, last week because it was a bye week. You get out there, you feel fresh, and you're just trying to overcompensate or do too much. And I remember reading an article about the Yankees, and they were talking about Aaron Judge and how he was the best player all year, and then all of a sudden he gets the World Series, and it was like he was trying too hard. And so as an athlete, it's this fine line you have to walk between being aggressive, confident, but trying not to overstep your boundaries or overstep that line. So you have to find it, and the faster you find it, whichever team finds it faster, usually is the team that ends up winning.
What is your Saturday going to look like leading up to when you arrive to the stadium? Like, everything before you getting to the stadium, what's that going to look like?
It's all the same. It's all going to be the same that I normally do. Usually get Subway sandwich and walk in, sit down. I come a little bit earlier than everyone else. I sit on the benches outside on the field, just look around, enjoy my meal. Just thankful for the opportunity, for my health, to be able to be in that game. And then it's business as usual. Once I get back in the locker room, I start getting ready, warm up, and then you're kind of almost in like a routine or a robot mode, autopilot. I guess is the best way to put it. It's just something I've done all year at home games and away games. So there's nothing really different. It's not like all of a sudden we're in the East Final, I'm going to switch up my whole routine, right? I think the better you can stay in your routine, the more you can make it feel like a regular season game, the less pressure I guess you feel on the outside looking in.
Autopilot is something that George St. Pierre mentioned when he spoke to you guys late last week. I'm curious what you took from that whole experience, conversation, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing he talked about was tricking his mind. Yeah. And I think it's so big for playoff games, pressure-packed games, because not everything's going to go our way. And if it did, I would be extremely thankful, and we'd be probably one of the luckiest teams in the league if that was the case. But when a bad play happens, or when I personally make a bad play, incompletion, interception, bad read, you have to trick your mind into playing the next play and not letting that one bad play snowball and snowball and snowball and affect your mood and affect the way you see things. So the faster you can flush it, even good plays, you throw a touchdown, you can't just hang on your laurels and then next time you think you're going to throw another touchdown because they got an incredibly talented defense. This is a hard league to win in, and we're going to have to play our best ball. So the biggest thing I took away from him was just finding a way to trick your mind into believing what's going to happen and what the outcome's going to be.
Physically, how do you feel? And you haven't played a full 60 minutes in a while. It's like, is that something you got to get used to, or is your body just it's muscle memory and you've been through that before a million times?
Yeah, I got 10 years in the CFL to kind of lean on with that. My body feels great, feel healthy, ready to go. I'm excited. Usually the playoffs, I get to let my legs run a little bit more because it's do or die, right? So I'm always excited about that, kind of let the horses out of the cage. But, it's just one of those things where even though I haven't played a full game, I went deep into the third quarter against Winnipeg. That was really my biggest thing with Coach Moss. I just said, let me get the ball coming out of halftime. I want to sit in halftime. You take that 15-minute break, and then you got to go out and you got to move the ball again. So having that, you get into the flow of the game pretty fast. I just hope that, we can get in that flow extremely fast because we have to start fast against these guys. If we give them a glimmer of hope, they're a very good football team that'll take advantage of that. And so we got to use the crowd electricity to our advantage, and we got to be able to start fast and then put them away in the fourth quarter.
What's the biggest challenge with their defense? I mean, you've seen them a bunch this year.
Yeah, their front seven's extremely talented. They tend to rush four a lot, which means that they feel really confident in their defensive line. They don't really bring a lot of pressure. When they do, it's an all-out pressure. So the biggest thing is just protecting up front. But the thing is, when you bring four guys, you have another 8 guys in coverage. So it makes the windows a little bit tighter. You're not going to have the throws down the field like you would with certain teams. So it's one of those games where you have to stay on the field as an offense. You have to find a way to get first downs, ball control. I thought Ottawa did a great job in the second quarter they had 11-play drive. They're at 22 plays in their first 2 drives. That's big, and that's how you be successful against them. And then you kind of get a little out of character later on because teams don't feel like they can do that all game long. It's extremely hard to do, but our offense is built that way, and I think we'll be up for that challenge.
Do you hold back on running? Like, can you do that in during the regular season to add a different wrinkle? Is that something you can do? Like, will you think to yourself in the middle of a play, like, all right, I'm not going to take off here because I want to save that? Like, you don't think that way, do you?
No, I think it's a different mentality when running, right? So when you take off, a lot of times in the regular season, you run, you get a first down, you're like, okay, go down, let's protect yourself. Playoffs, it's like every yard matters. And if I'm going to go out, with a bang, and I'm going to try to get every yard that this team can get, because 2nd and 9 is a whole lot better than 2nd and 10. 2nd and 5 is a whole lot better than 2nd and 6, right? So those yards matter, and I think it's just a different mentality in the way that I run. And if you turn on the tape from last year in the playoffs, that I think was the difference, in especially the Hamilton game, and I know in the Argonauts game, those 2 games, I found a way to extend some drives with my legs, and something I've leaned on my whole career. And so I always get excited around playoff times because it's kind of let loose and anything can happen.
Yeah, the big Winnipeg run on the final drive, those was it 14, 13 yards, 15 yards? It's 3rd and 5, a 2nd and 18. It got to 3rd and 5, so yeah.
In a normal season, you're probably sliding, you're probably getting down, getting out of bounds.
You took a pretty good hit on that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the Grey Cup. You leave everything on the line, and that's what I say. The playoffs, you got to leave everything on the line. And I never want to be the guy who comes into the locker room and says, I could have gave a little bit more. And if I ever do that, then I know it's time for me to walk away from the game, because this game doesn't reward mentalities like that.
Thanks for this, Cody.
Yeah, thank you.
Big game. Thanks again, Cody, for jumping on. And hopefully Cody can get himself another Grey Cup MVP next week. All right, let's move on to guest number 2. This is going to be an interesting battle on special teams, because I think special teams in the CFL, I think we know it's so important to. But what I would say is it's also, make sure that you're not in a hole and you're not starting these drives from the 5, 10, 15-yard line on your side of the field. And yes, that's important for the returner to make sure that he can have some explosive plays. But it's also up to your blockers. Your blockers need to do that when they try to open up lanes for James Letcher Jr. And your gunners have to get down the field on punt or even on kickoff. You want to get down there and you want to limit the damage that the Argos can do as well, so that they can start with terrible field position. So this is an intriguing battle. James Letcher Jr., mentioned it off the top, had the big kick return touchdown in the East Final last year that really cemented the game in the fourth quarter for Montreal. Because if you remember, the Argos made it interesting. They scored a touchdown, a quarterback sneak from Cameron Dukes. Boom, very next kickoff. There must have been about 10 minutes left in the game. Ensuing kickoff after the Argo touchdown, just crushed them. Absolutely no hope. Letcher brings it back for a long touchdown, and the game was over. Alouettes go to the Grey Cup, beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the rest is history. So to me, I'm going to call it James Letcher Jr. versus Janarian Grant, 2 of the best kick returners in the game right now. But it involves everybody on special teams, because winning that battle is huge. And we talked about that and more with Alouettes kick returner James Letcher Jr.
Win or go home, no tomorrow. I mean, pick the cliche you like. I mean, this is it. This is playoff time. We've seen you playoff time and crunch time. I mean, you delivered in a big moment in the East Final last year. I'm just curious, what's the feeling for, one of the best returners in the game going into a playoff game in the East Final?
I wouldn't say it's a lot of disrespect going around as far as their team against our team, but it's a lot of disrespect going around. So, I don't want this game to be close, and I know a lot of my teammates feel the same way. So we're going to come head hunting this Saturday. We haven't really had a lot of games in recent past that has meant anything because we've made it this far. So it's going to be our first game that's actually meant something in a long time, and we all ready to play. So we're looking forward to it this weekend, showing out in front of our fans and getting another dub to go to the Grey Cup.
How do you feel how do you guys feel disrespected?
Just seeing some of the CFL posts and how they're picking Toronto, and they got better running backs, receivers, returners, and basically their team's better than ours. So that's what a lot of us are seeing. I'm definitely seeing it for sure. So I know we got that on our shoulder as a chip. So we're looking forward to it.
How much of a factor will special teams have in the outcome of this game, you feel?
I think it'll be a big factor. Outside of defense, I think special teams is the second biggest factor part of this game. If we don't do good on special teams, that can change the outcome of the game for sure. So especially with like field position and certain points as far as rouges and extra points or whatever the case may be. But it's going to be a big part of this game for sure. And I'm looking to show everybody who I really am.
When you look at Janarian Grant on the other side, I think you guys are 2 most dynamic returners in the game right now.
For sure.
I'm not going to ask you what type of respect you have for him, but just when you see him, what type of returner is he? What's he good at?
Yeah, I'll respect him. There's no hate between us. We go out there and do our jobs regardless. I don't know. He's different. Obviously, like you said, we're probably the best 2 returners in the game right now. I think he has more of hit the seam and go.
Yeah.
And I got more of a little elusiveness, juke, and then go, but we both got that go, that it factor, a part of our game. So it's going to be exciting to see our team stop each other.
Is there anything you can take from – do you take more from this year, I guess, or from the East Final? Did you go back and watch the East Final last year? Did you go watch that return, the touchdown you had on the kickoff? How much have you done that lately, or do you not?
Oh, no, I do it all the time, especially because it's against the same team. For the most part, they got the same schemes.
Same coordinator.
Same coordinator, exactly. So I've looked at that kick return. I've looked at the punt return that I just scored on against them. I looked at all the kick returns and punt returns I haven't scored on against them. So, I look at all that stuff as far as everybody else on those specials units. So like I said, we're ready to go. So we're excited, and we're looking to show out this weekend.
How much more how much more different is it this year that you guys have the playoff experience last year? Like last year, sometimes not having experience is good. James, like, you're naive. You go into these games and you don't know what to do, what to expect, what to do, and all that fun stuff. But now that you guys have the experience and all that, like, how much of a difference is that?
It's a big difference because we know how to react to certain things. We're not gonna get down on ourselves if we're down early in the game. We know that we can persevere. We got a lot of grit on this team, and we never give up, as you saw last year and this year. So just being a veteran in the playoffs as far as this team is going to be good for us regardless, because we know how to maneuver through certain situations. So
I'm always curious about this. Like, do you help out, or like, are you vocal about like, do you help the cover guys with Grant? Like, will you kind of point them in the right direction during the week? Like, oh, I noticed this with Jannary and Grant and that. Like, how involved are you in that?
It's crazy to say this, but everybody is involved in that. There's not just one person. It's not just me saying, oh, the return does this or that. It's literally everybody. Even people that aren't on special teams, they're literally spotting stuff out throughout the week about what the returner does, what the long snapper does, what the punter does, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, we all take credit with that one. We know this is a big game, so we all been digging deep and trying to find what we can exploit them on, So
how long is this, like, these 2 weeks, like, how long have they felt? Because last year the playoffs, you guys played every week, but now you guys have had to wait a little bit. Like, how tough and how long has it been? And is it tough to stay focused on the task when you haven't played in so long?
I mean, maybe to some it is, maybe some to others it's not. Me personally, I didn't like sitting out that last week. But,
I was just going to ask. Yeah.
I didn't like sitting out the last week, but by any means, like I said, the game didn't really matter, so I understood what was at hand. But I don't know, it's different. This is our first time. It's my first time, at least, that I've gotten to sit out a week in the playoffs. So it's good for the body, for everybody's body, and make sure everybody's on the same page. We got an extra week of practice to prepare ourselves for whoever our opponent was at the time, and now that we know, we've been preparing for them for 2 weeks, so we're ready to go. I think, like I said, we're all excited. We're all ready to go. We all got each other's back, so.
How tough? And I saw where Coach Moss gave you credit for playing all 18 because he sat you. It wasn't your decision to sit, but how physically demanding how would you describe, like, how physically demanding it is to have to play? Like, you played in the first 17. Like, how tough is that on the body with short weeks and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, it's real tough. It was my first time actually playing a full season outside of that last game, but it was a lot of ups and downs throughout the season. A lot of people don't know me and plenty of other people were dealing with injuries throughout the season that we didn't want to talk about, or we had to fight through, and a lot of people don't know that, but that's what's going to happen in football. If you're not injured, you're playing. You know what I'm saying? So it was tough, but it was manageable. We got through, and this is probably one of our best records in the franchise in a while. So we can't complain about anything that's happened throughout the year.
It's been 12 years since the Alouettes hosted an East Final, and it's been like 24 since they played it at McGill at Molson Stadium. How much does the home crowd help? I know it helps a lot on defense, it's obvious, but special teams, and you play some offense too. I'm just curious how much of a boost you can get off crowd, and how much can it help with. I don't think it creates momentum, but can it help sustain momentum?
Oh, a lot. Just as much as it helps defense, it helps offense and special teams whenever they're roaring in the crowd. So we use that with any and everything inside the game. So when they're quiet on offense and they get loud whenever we make a big play, first down or score, and when they're loud on defense and still loud and rowdy on special teams whenever I get the ball and try to score. So we use that momentum with any and everything throughout the game.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
That's it. This is the last one in Montreal in 2024. Excited for the postseason, but always a little bit sad when we get to playoff time because that means that there's going to be no Canadian football until training camp in May. And that seems really far away right now, but I know the offseason goes by so quick. There's always a lot of news and information when it comes to the CFL and the Montreal Alouettes, but not having any games and not having the players, all of the players around the city is tough. It's not easy. So you miss the guys, you miss being around the guys, you miss seeing them practice every day, and you miss seeing them compete on the field. You miss traveling with the group. So it's always a little bit sad playoff time, but you got to be excited by the possibility. This is why you play the game. You want to win playoff games and you want to win the championship. And the Alouettes are on a mission to win their 9th in franchise history and their 2nd in a row, which they've done one other time in franchise history, 2009. 2010. So it should be a really good game. Obviously, I'm going to anticipate a close one. I don't think I've called a blowout in any of these games, but I really feel good about where the Alouettes are at right now going into this game. And I think they've got a great chance to represent the East Division in the Grey Cup and to represent the province of Quebec and the city of Montreal. Enjoy the game, everyone. I hope to see you there. Come and see us at the tailgate before the game. Hopefully, if be loud, be proud. When the offense is on the field, please do not do the wave. Please be quiet when the Montreal offense is on the field. But when the Argos are on the field, make as much noise as you like. Make as much noise as you like. When the Argonauts offense is out there and you see Chad Kelly, make noise. I don't know if you want to chant, Kelly, Kelly. Do whatever you got to do to throw them off their game. But just remember, last year in the East semifinal, Hamilton took 2 or 3 false start penalties because the crowd noise was incredibly loud. So shout out to the crowd. I know you guys have made a difference all year long in these games. Make sure you make a difference again. Thank you, everybody. We'll have another podcast next week, no matter what happens. But I'm hoping I'm going to be doing that podcast from Vancouver, baby. I really hope it's going to be from Vancouver. I can't wait for this game to get going. We've been waiting for it. Even the administrative staff has been working really hard to get ready for this game, to make sure that you guys come to the stadium. Everything's great. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. Also, make sure you show up early, not just for the tailgate, but the first, I can't remember how many, the first few thousand people are going to get team pictures. We're handing out the team picture, so make sure that you're there and that you get the team picture. The number escapes me right now. It's really bad on my part. That's poor on my part. But yes, we will be handing out team pictures before the game. I am trying to stall to get you that information. 10,000 copies. 10,000 copies. That's what I thought it was, but I just wanted to make sure. There's going to be 10,000 editions of the team picture. So the first 10,000 people that walk in will get a team photo. So thank you for the support. The podcast numbers have been great this year. The numbers on the lives and the articles have been great. Everything's been awesome. Really appreciate your support, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday. If you're listening to this on Friday, have a great weekend. Go Owls, go, baby. We'll see you at the stadium on Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff between the Toronto Argonauts and Montreal Alouettes in the East Final. Bon match, tout le monde.